Hello and welcome to Tear Down These Walls podcast. Here we tear down the walls of silence, shame, and stigma, one story at a time. And today I have my first cousin Emer with me. So we were supposed to do it last week and Emer couldn't make it. I'm delighted, Emer, to have you here today. I just want to say that I'm really nervous. I'm like this every time I start, and I know you're a little bit nervous as well. I can sort of feel it off you. It's palpable. But you know why you're here. Yeah, we had a little conversation about it, and you know my intention and what I'm trying to do with doing this. So we'll jump straight in if you're okay. You're okay to start. There's a glass of water here if you need it. I think it's only proper to start from the beginning. Right. So if you want to just tell me a little bit about your life, who you are, how old you are, your siblings and where you grew up. So if you want to just start with.
Well, I come from a family of 9. I'm 43. I have 4 children. I come from Sheriff Street, don't live in Sheriff Street anymore, but I suppose that's where your roots is, that's where you were brought up, and had most of the good and bad experiences
in Sheriff Street.
In Sheriff Street, yeah.
What was it like? I've sort of 2 questions. So what was it like growing up in a family of 9 and then growing up with a family of 9 on Sheriff Street? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it could be rough. It was rough growing up, Lisa. You know, and you look back, it was the life that we lived. I would say it would have been rough, you know, when I look back over my childhood, there'd be a lot of stuff that just wasn't right. But it was the way we were brought up, and that was life, that was home. It was your family. I had good times and bad times, and I suppose we lived in a lot of poverty when we would be growing up. I suppose what's coming to me is, if I was to look back, I don't have of bad memories of my childhood, but from when I was born, and if I asked anyone about the time I was born, would it be back related to you? Because your father was shot at the time I was born. So I would have heard a lot of that.
So he was shot on the 22nd of November and your birthday.
Yeah, it's the 20th.
And so you were born 2 days before, because I believe he went up to see you when you were born. And I never thought about that too much. I knew that it was close, but I didn't realise that your birth in your head was associated to my dad's death for you.
Yeah, so kind of like you hear, like you're growing up, you hear the stories and stuff, and you know, it would have, for us as children, we would have grown up hating the police because of that. And we would have been brought up to hate the police because they took your uncle's life, and you know, and be coming up to my birthday and you'd be saying it's Eamon's anniversary, and then as kids we wouldn't have been put out of a room as much as such. We would have known exactly what had went on, and that would carry you through your childhood. So although I wouldn't have known your father and you were a child, I would have had that memory stuck to me birthday.
It's funny that you say that, because like obviously I was 9 and I didn't know him either, but from listening to all the stories, because we would have been exposed to a lot of adult conversation, and I felt like I knew me dad. I thought my dad was a hero.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that he was a great driver, that he was a great armed robber. And honest to Christ, I thought, like, I grew up feeling so proud as a young child of who my father was, because the stories that I was told about him.
And like you would hear your stories, I would hear he was trigger happy. I would hear stories of different people's families, and as we got up into teenagers, and not teenagers, probably 8, 9, 10, 11, and we'd be hanging around with certain people and they'd be like, your dad done this to my dad, and it was just that kind of like, there was always a divide in who you could be with, and there was always connection, and the connection was violence. It was always connected to something when we would make friends, and our stories would always be our connection. Your dad done this, my dad doesn't like this, and
You've made me just think of something, and I remember that. It's funny the things you forget, but I remember this one particular young fella, and my dad was supposed to shoot his dad in the leg, and we started hanging around together. They were from up the street, And I remember these conversations happening, and I was like, "Does that mean we're not supposed to like one another?" And I
Yeah.
forgot all about that, Emer, but yeah, it's true. We were nearly, um, what would you say? It was like, it was a strange
Yeah.
environment
It's very strange.
because that was normal to
Yeah.
us, that our father did this and did that, and was an arm robber, and he did this on my dad. I mean, can you imagine a group of kids that you know now having these conversations? And
Yeah, it's just when you think, and we were, you know, no judgment on the parents, and that's what they were brought into least. But we were brought up to have rivalry with people.
mm,
You also couldn't hang around with this person. There was always a conflict in the middle of something. It was never well, in my life, it was never 100% peaceful.
tell me a little bit about
Like,
that.
like even trying to make friends, and as you grow up, and like you'd be around a gang of women, and my childhood would be brought up, like older women, obviously women, and there'd be obvious judgment on other families. So you are brought up that you are reared with judgment, gossip, all stuff like that.
Do you think, because I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. Was that your experience because of what your dad did and was involved in? Did you find that people wasn't allowed to play with you, or the other way around?
Well, I kind of find more on my ma side. I would hear a lot of stuff. I didn't hear so much stuff about me dad until probably I'd be about 18, and he would tell you a lot, probably more, probably about 15, and he would tell you stuff like that. But you kind of, like, my upbringing was around a lot of women, so I would hear a lot of stuff about different families and children, and you also would put a lot of fear in you, Lisa, with going and playing. But for me, I lived very fearful, Lisa, so.
What was the fear, and what was it that you were hearing about that children that created that
Just
fear?
like he wouldn't be allowed, don't, if he knocks at the door, don't let him knock at the door. You're not allowed in this house, and because of this, and it'd be constant. Like, instead of just going out and you were got let out to play.
And what do you think was behind that? Don't go in there, or don't.
Well, I suppose coming from Sheriff Street, coming from Sheriff Street, there'd be a lot of, I suppose, each family would have their own stuff that would be going on.
Mm.
And like, if I look at my childhood, I was full of fear. Like, I remember my childhood just going to, like, your nanny, older people, where I'd be trapped in the telly, and that was my piece of freedom, that I would just lock in the telly because I was full of fear.
That was your escape.
That was me
Watching
escape to tell
TV
you. I
and
don't
jump
watch
into that
TV
world.
today,
Okay.
but I would.
But and I'm trying to understand. I don't mean like to feel like
No,
I'm
like, I
attacked.
had me brothers. I'll even use me brothers. They were always fighting. There was always something going on with other people's families. There was always something that you weren't allowed to go to this house or something. Do I know 100% all the details? No. But there was always a barrier that you just couldn't go over. Like, there's names I'd love to mention. I couldn't go to this house, but I won't. But I wouldn't be able to go into there'd be probably 3 houses on the road you'd be allowed in. And
Okay.
it'd be stopped, and you'd be just told not to go there. You're not allowed here. You're not allowed there. And
Yeah, and it's getting a bit clearer for me now. But do you not feel that was because of what the adults in our life,
because of the adults and
what they were doing
yeah,
and how they were living?
100%.
But there's the knock-on effect.
Yeah.
You're full of fear. You're
Yeah.
told not to go here. You're wondering. You're confused as to why.
Yeah.
And what was it that the adults was doing then that was creating this environment where we were so conflicted and full of fear?
Because it was crime, it was gangland stuff, it was all wrong stuff, and that's the life that I was brought up, and everything was about making money. Everything was money, and it was drugs. It was even down to selling sweets was a dishonest thing, because you were having a shop that wouldn't be allowed in your hall. There was just everything.
I forgot that you actually set up a shop.
There was just so much dishonesty. You were taught, like, look, I can't say to you, like my sister said or my dad said, because I just remember picking up the traits of stealing. And I have had to fight that off, because that was embedded into me. That was a behaviour that I learned from a very young age, to be dishonest and take stuff.
I shared that in my intro about being rewarded as a young child for doing the wrong thing. and we learn to manipulate and to deceive people from a very young age. And I know because some of those experiences were shared with you, that you and I did. And I explained to it, and I never mentioned your name, so I hope it's okay because I know we spoke about it, that we would curry trolleys of hash from one place to another in the flats, and we would witness the cutting up of hash on a daily basis, you know, by the smell. You told me, don't come in the kitchen. The knife will be on the stove heating up where they used to heat it. You'd see the scales and the cling film. And I knew from a young age what was going on. Then you'd see the counting of money. And then it was, I do say that it really excited me more. Do you think I didn't have as much fear as you because of having maybe my nan's house where that was a place where nothing was going on? So I knew I could go back there and live.
Well, fear has carried me around, has followed me all my life, and it's there from a young age. I had brothers, I had my dad that would everything be closed to window. You're not allowed this. I remember stuff that you were allowed to do as kids where I was completely not allowed to. I wouldn't be allowed to go in the key. I wouldn't be allowed to go on the jet skis, all that stuff. It was just constant fear. It was constant people telling you not what to do. And then you would hear these stories. I never forget, like, my dad's come home and I was really, really young, and I was probably, see, you get upset in these faces, and his head was like, he was getting a smack of a hatchet. And like, he was fighting with a different family out in Finglas, and like, it was over his brother that his brother had kind of starting to lose his sight in his eye, got a hiding, and just stuff like that. You'd see weapons, and you know, and well, when I was a child, that I wouldn't call that a weapon. That was just normal to see someone take a big hatchet, take a big pole, take that kind of stuff. I, like, all my life there was people putting my mother's door through. If it wasn't the police, it was arrivals, or it was involvement in crime and family feuds and stuff. And it was just, until you step out, that was normal. Absolute normal.
I mean, to say that a state of growing up in that amount of fear is normal is where it's abnormal. For us to think. I know it was, and it was that survival mode we were in constantly. So you were never really going into deep sleeps and at peace and thinking I'm safe. And these people, my parents are going to protect me. And because they were the one that was bringing the stuff and their older siblings, as you said, because it follows on to them, like whatever your dad was doing or whatever, then the siblings start to do the same. And I understand all that. And I suppose I'm thinking, what did you do to ease that fear? Like, how did you deal with it?
I used to, how I did with it, I would be doing a lot of stuff for the neighbours on the road, going to shop and stuff, and then I know they'd let me sit in. And my escapism was to tell. So I'd just be glued. And when I look, I have memories of just like.
Do you remember me nana too?
And that's like that. And I had Miss Gibson, I had a few other women, and their kindness and stuff, there was a difference of them women. It wasn't that generation. They were soft, they were kind, they went to church. It was just completely different. And I was, as much as I lived in the chaos, I was drawn. And them women, which are long gone now, don't know how much they comfort me in them places, you know. And that's where I got me comfort from. And look, you know, my mum had a tough life, you know, and like, I've loads of understanding from my mum. Was the way we were brought up right? Definitely not. Definitely not. I wouldn't bring I'm breaking the cycle with my children. But like, if you actually take a step back as we're doing now and look into life, is bleeding crazy. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely crazy. Like, it's just completely crazy of what kind of stuff children
was exposed to. Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
But I suppose, like, as you brought up there, like, carrying. See, the carrying this gonna sound crazy. Carrying the drugs and all wasn't I don't look at that part. That was completely wrong, no child. But that wouldn't have been what would the stamp on me. That didn't impact my life. If I look back and be honest about it, it wasn't right, and I wouldn't do that with my children. But mine was constant is because of me abuse, and because I was just a shell inside. I was fearful all the time. I hid that with friends and stuff, and I had a way of masking it. I was just full of fear. I was full of fear of adults, especially men, completely, especially men. And that's why I was drawn to older women and comfort. And like from my experience of being abused as a child, I carried that on then. I met a man that was very abusive. And that's all I thought I accepted. And I know what guilt and shame, and I know what them memories do to you, because as you carry on in life, you drink, you're trying to kill the pain that won't go. And it took me at 40 years of age to realise all that stuff wasn't my fault. To have compassion on myself. All those things were wrong. Do I forgive the people? 100% I forgive them, because my heart was hardened, Lisa. I was angry. I couldn't stand people. If you look at me, I'll bleed and kill you. Sorry. But that's me. That my attitude. But when I started to process all the stuff, now I won't get into the graphic details, but I didn't live an easy life.
Can I just say a quote from, because I know we spoke about this book, so Bessel van der Kolk, he wrote Body Keeps Score.
Yeah.
And he says, it's almost impossible to become an addict without some sort of child abuse and neglect.
Yeah.
And when I read that, I wrote it down because I thought of myself, and I thought of you, and I thought of all the people that has been abused and neglected. And I was nearly like something went inside me, because I was like, it wasn't their fault.
No.
To want to ease that pain and suffering. And I know air abuse was different.
Yeah.
I had more emotional abuse, physical abuse. Not physical, sorry. I seen a lot of physical violence with people. But either way, I found something that is for a long time was my medicine. When I drank, I became happy. I became less anxious. I wasn't worried. I didn't care. I had a sense of freedom. Every time I drank it, I just loved it. And I don't know whether that's your experience of it, or what was it? What was your go-to? Mine was definitely alcohol. I took a lot more drugs than alcohol, but that was me. That was my medicine.
Well, my so I wasn't really a big drinker, Lisa, up till I probably turned 20. And my brother had got out of prison, which is gone now, which was murdered. And which, coming from where we come from, someone is being murdered, it's just like saying, can we go to the shop for a bar of chocolate? Like, his life was taken. And when you're living in that environment, you don't get time to grieve, because someone else is going to be murdered, another cousin, another family member. And when I was speaking to you, and I knew I was coming to do this, and I was like, for what I know in my own mind, looking back the steps. And it's like, your father was murdered. Aidan was murdered. All other cousins, they're all murdered. Like, murder and down the bloodline.
About it, and this is why I'm so interested in the generational trauma stuff, and because I said it started with my dad in the 80s. I don't know much before.
That's what I'd love to know.
And then we had, like, I've had other stuff then with my Matt and Eddie, and then the amount of first cousins. So we had Aidan, which is your brother, and I was very close to himself. He was like an older brother from me growing up. And then we Gerald. And we had Stephen. And there was Gar. And that's 4 first cousins who died by a gun. My father also. That's 5. And then we have lost a few to addiction.
And accidentals.
Well, death in prison. It's all connected. And then Garrett, which is our brother, through alcoholism and addiction. How old was Garrett? I was trying to think.
Garrett would have been about, I'd say Garrett before Aidan.
Yeah.
Garrett was before, did he?
Yeah.
Or after?
I thought it was before.
Right. No, I think it was after, wasn't it? Like,
I'm confused.
Right. No, you're right, it was after, because Garrett was in my house now. I must have gotten the vision there. Yeah, it was after. Garrett was after,
Was he after?
Yeah.
Okay, I was confused on the timeline. But that's what I remember I thought about when I was at Christine's mass funeral. And I spoke about this, and I looked around the church at all their family. And I looked at, there was cousins from all of us there. And I thought his brother is dead, his brother is dead. And I thought about the amount of people we pushed up and carried up that aisle in coffins, premature deaths, like in their youth, in their prime. And all tragically, like traumatically. And then the impact of their deaths had then on their children and on you. Because I know we were very, very close up until I was living in East Wall. I think it was about 2009, wasn't it? Maybe around that year. And I mean, every Christmas you came to us for dinner, and we went away together, and we were very close from young kids. We had their differences at times, but like all kids growing up. But we were close. I mean, we were really, I grew up with you, I grew up in your house, I loved your family, I loved your dad, I loved you. And I remember after Aiden's death was when you just nosedived.
Do you know what happened? I probably haven't shared this. I probably shared it with one or two people. So when the life that I lived, and I lived full of fear, and then I met a man, and he traumatized me. He broke me. He broke every piece of me. He broke me as a woman. Everything. And when Aiden died, I remember at the funeral, and I said, "This is it. I am putty. I'm trapped. I'm completely trapped. I mean, life just got darker and darker. I was trapped in the relationship that I was in. Because Aiden was always there. It was my security. Nothing had went too far."
Was that because your then partner, who was being abusive, would have had fear of Aiden, and Aiden would have controlled it a little bit from the outside?
Definitely. And I'd be around me brother a lot, and so he would have controlled it. Like Aiden's presence alone, when he was saying that, would control it. And I remember I just went to a dark, deep place, Lisa. I went, and I think maybe the first or the second year I got postnatal depression. And for 10 years after that, I ended up in Vincent's. And for, what was it? Probably 5 Christmases out that my kids visited me on Christmas. I couldn't. I was, all the circumstances, all the trauma, and it does stem back from your upbringing and everything that followed up through from coming from that life of crime and all that stuff that they call normal, which is not normal, had a major effect on my mental health. And there was too much traumatic stuff that had happened to me that
there was no space.
Broke my mind, and I just couldn't cope with it.
Do you mind if I just do like a small recap on it? Because I'm sitting here and I know you, and I know the events, but you've said things that I didn't know you weren't. I didn't know for 5 years out of those 10 years that your kids were out visiting you, and I'm genuinely really, really sad, and I'm feeling guilt and a bit of that. No, I am, and I knew I walked away, and I knew that you were suffering, but I didn't feel like I was able to do anything. And I'm just thinking the early abuse, the fear, the living in a really criminal household. Then you met your partner who was massively abusive, and by now we're down to 2 brothers died young, and you just said I couldn't, and I thought, well, where could she heal? Where could she have got well? Where was the time, the opportunity? Where was the support? Where was the people?
And you can't, Lisa. And you know, when I look, when you come, whichever way, whether it's physical, mentally, or sexual abuse, when that door is opened and you're young, when we were children, we are meant to live a lovely life. You're meant to have love, support, comfort, all the stuff we didn't get. And as crazy as this is going to say, even though Aiden there, love Aiden, Aiden was my comfort. My dad was my comfort in that big bad world. You know, and they were my family. And when them things start letting go, and then when Aiden went, I felt like that was it. I had nothing
for long,
and I was alone, and I was fine. But I remember having Lily and I had Kimberly too. I was pregnant. Both my brothers died. So having Kimberly and, you know, having Kimberly in all them circumstances and having postnatal depression and stuff like that. And then my mind broke and it was just a really, really dark place. But you know what? And at that stage, I wasn't even through the worst trauma. I always had a little speck of hope in me. We always had it, like if I could do an analogy of a circle, and I had a speck of hope.
I get what you're saying.
A speck of it, and this is not what I want.
I like to describe it as, you know, a big flame on a candle, but it keeps going lower and dimming and dimming.
Yeah.
But there was a tiny little bit of the flame there. It's how I described it in myself after I went to Ashley Reed. I knew I was nearly gone, born blue, but there was a little flicker that I was like, maybe there's a possibility I can turn this around, or I can try get well, and maybe not turn it around at the time. But well, where did you think after all of that, and you are really broken? What do you think that little bit of hope that you spoke about, that little speck?
Was so that little speck was, I remembered myself, and I remember being 15 and I had these goals and I wanted to go to Australia. I wanted a different life. I was coming out of that place. I was coming out of that childhood. So I'll go back a little bit to my childhood. I suffered with rejection all my life, Lisa. And lovely Lisa here comes into my life as a child, and you know, growing up, and no harm on Lisa, you know, I was very envious, Lisa, and I have to be honest, and very jealous, because you would come and they'd be doting over you, and I always felt I was left in the corner, you know, and it was not, like now when I look, it was my dad's brother's child, you know, and it was stuff like that.
That relationship, because of your dad's guilt with my dad's death, and me being my dad's only surviving child, and I haven't spoke about this yet, but I always wanted to belong. And every time I was in your house, in spite of what was going on in it, I knew I was welcome and belonged, and I was loved, and I was seen. And was it in the right way? I mean, but if you got a new coat, I got a new coat. If you got a ticket for the circus. And so I was really happy, but what I wouldn't have realised is how that was making you feel as a child, Emer.
And it's just, you know, like when I think back, and I remember I did, like, you have a little vision. I remember going to fight it and all, and I had to put 20 rings on my finger. So
you really wanted to cause me damage. I remember that in the playground, and you always remind me of Carla to a degree. Or wait, you know, you are really laid back. You're wearing them feisty. You are really soft, and you are more angelic than I was. I had that little bit of devilment going on in it. And I remember someone was at our saying, you know, fight her. And we met in the playground at, let's say, 6 o'clock to have a fight. And I remember looking at fucking loads of rings on your hands. So you are there to cause damage. And I remember saying, I'm not fighting you.
I remember that. But I was full of nerves and all. I didn't even want to.
Do you know what it was? And I swear to you, man, I didn't want to hurt you. And I knew at the time I probably could have got the better of you at the time. But could I have? It's not all in my head.
No, you could have.
And I was like, to me, there was loads of people there, and I was like, I don't want to hurt her, because I loved you and I loved being in your house, and I thought, if I fucking kill her, I can't go to her house then for. So I do remember all that, Emer.
You know, it was like, when you look, like, there was some really good and funny times in our childhood, and it's just like, it's unfortunate that we like it. Our childhood had to be like that, because we did get love and stuff, but on the other hand, it's step by steps for the rest of our life. We stayed in crime. We went to men in crime, Lisa. We were drawn to that.
Well, you know, familiar. I say it. I was very comfortable in the criminal work. Why wouldn't I be? I'd seen it from a young age. I was doing criminal things from a young age, and I, like, when you look at the places where we went out and socialised, and like men and alpha men, and the men we looked up to were the men who sold drugs. because there was one particular guy in the flats and he had it all, and we all looked up to him. And then your dad would have had a big name, and everyone knew you, so you'd always say, I'm Bonzo's niece, and everybody, you know, because he did what he was probably very well known for selling hash and dog fighting, which was huge in the 90s.
And that's one thing that I never processed with my dad, that I just don't like when it comes to the dog fighting. There's not many things I can say that I don't like. There's something I don't process with that. I just leave it there. I'm just like,
you're understanding why.
Don't.
But you said it. You said it earlier, though. Everything was about making money.
Yeah, it was cruel. I just, you know, when you get older and all, it's just like, you know, the end, it's cruel. It's all cruel. Yeah, it was cruel.
And the thing is, we were that comfortable in that, with that fear, that exposure, being rewarded for doing the wrong things, that became our norm, as you said. And then we end up in these places socialising. And I don't know about you or how this will sound. Most of the people that we were around didn't work and were involved in crime. And you wanted to have someone, I know I did growing up, I remember in the flat saying, I'm going to marry his son and we're going to have a big corner flat and I'm always going to have shopping in the fridge and we're going to drive a car because we had a car and we're going to have a phone. And they were my aspirations. And them aspirations never left me. And you're not going to end up with a normal guy in the places where we were socialising. I'm not saying normal, I mean...
My aspirations would have been different, Lisa.
Really?
I wanted to get out of my life because I didn't feel a part. I had a great connection with Aidan as I went into my teen, like over 16. So in my life, I wanted away from that family. I always wanted to be...
That was Australia.
I went to Australia and we've done all them things, and I wanted completely better for myself. I genuinely did.
So what happened?
So what happened was I met the kid's dad just before I went to Australia. So, and then I came back from Australia, and it's like one of my daughter is 22 now. When she was 4, I realised this is not the person I've met. This is a different person. The natural colours start coming out. And I was like, I am getting out of this. Just wanted out of it. But, I mean, we're all right now. I was 34 when I got over. 6 years ago. 34.
Only 6 years.
Only 6 years, 6 years. Maybe 7.
That's funny because I never knew this similarity. I was bitter at 34. And I said in my last one, in losing him, I got to find me.
That's it.
And I'm just thinking about the similarities that we've had and the experiences, but I didn't know until we sat here today that we were both 34 when, and I know we lost them for completely different reasons, but you look at, sometimes it takes the worst thing happening to find.
Well, I can tell you I wouldn't be sitting here now if Alan wasn't took away from my situation. Because my mind was gone. I was warped. My mind was completely gone. I couldn't be the person that I wanted to be. And I knew there was a person inside of me that was my bit of hope. I knew in my darkest times and in even when my mind broke and I would have people in place that was helping me. I seen something in people that I wanted. I wanted a normal life and I had a bit of hope. But I couldn't have got that if he'd have been still here. Because he wouldn't have left. He was just a menace. He'd have been all of his parasite. At you.
It sounds like that you couldn't, there was no escaping, and like it didn't matter what you did in your power. And what about, because I know, like, you know, because we grew up where we were up to hate the police and they couldn't protect us, and did you ever seek the help of the police, or what was your experience?
Do you know, I remember the first time I was ever badly injured, and he had come and took me from the hospital. And this was when there was probably one security guard in the hospital. I think it was 21st and he was able to carry me from the bed. Now, you wouldn't be able to do that in hospitals now because the matter is more secured. But there would have been probably one part of 20 years ago. It wasn't high security. So he came in and he took me. So we got down as far as the North Circular Road, and I remember the police pulling in, and they were like, he was getting arrested, a whole lot. I was like, thank you, Lord. And they said to me, what's your name? And I told them my name, and they said, me go and get your brother to hell, and left me. So I've had really bad experiences, but I've also had good experience. I've had, I have to be honest, the good experiences I got from Stoke Street, the other Fitzgibbon Street and all, they just were, I don't know what the difference is, Lisa, or good cop, bad cop, what you call it, I don't know. But there's times that I relied on them police because I was genuinely in danger. And there was times they let me down. Then there was times I had other guards that would pursue them.
Really listen to you.
You know, and I've been in and out of every refuge that, like in Ireland, I've would build myself up to run, but I also knew I had to come back. You know, and I'll give you that little bit of break. And in the like, and having breakdowns, and you know, I actually genuinely, I used to say, like in my head, I used to say, do you know what, I'm only up. Some days I'd get 3 days of breathing, and I was back down. And something else would happen, family trauma stuff. Like we lived where there was a family feud, Lisa, like one way or another, and that was, you didn't know.
Well, I remember the impact of that even on me. I remember when we were living in Swa, and I just wanted to get out. I was like, I just want to take the kid, and I want to run. And I thought by taking the kids out of the city and running down to a better area that I wouldn't have to deal with it all. So I was trying to forget and do, but then I was living a life in the same type of environment, and although it wasn't unsettling at that time, I knew it was only going to be a matter of time before it came knocking at my door. Like I knew that much. I wasn't completely naive, Emer, in it. But like that, I think then when you have kids with someone, when you're in love, when you're married, like you're
So
in.
you would have loved Sherry.
Oh, no, listen, I mean, I idolized.
I'd say for a year, I was young enough, 2 years max. After that, for me, from my past, if being harmed by men and being harmed, and you know, probably not getting into depth with it all stuff. I mean, I've suffered from siblings and all that were really meanly, so I lived a really, and it's not here to pick on anyone, but I mean, I always felt picked on. And I felt I had a pain inside. So it was like my whole life, people were chipping at me. And when I seen that dark side to him, I was like, no, I want out. It didn't matter. And all the money, all the stuff, that didn't. I wasn't drawn to that. I was completely, you know, at the stage with Aiden and all, I was drawn to the party life and that kind of life, the drugs. I was completely drawn, but I wasn't drawn to his side.
Well, I mean, that was different, Emma. I think anybody that we have an intimate relationship with, like, because I'll always talk about Eddie and the nature of him and the effects he had on me growing up, and it was that madness and unpredictability and knowing that you were under extreme threat. So I mean, that's different than like knowing that you're involved in a criminal world and it might hit the fan, the police might come, someone. It's not the same as being physically.
And I like, so being involved in the criminal world, I was like with Aiden and all. I got a high out at least. I'm going to be honest with you. You know, it was exciting.
Do you remember the first time that we took cocaine?
Yeah, when we were away. Was it?
Was that the first time? No, I think it was up in Rhonda's apartment. Aiden gave it to us that we were 14.
Right.
And I think that was the first time that I took it. I remember I was young, like taking it.
And I would have a different memory of my first time.
Okay.
Like I thought we were on holiday.
But I was 50 and I had Clayton when we went on that holiday.
Right, so it must have.
So I think I did it before the holiday once, because I remember Aiden. I remember him because he used to call me Mad Mary, and he was breaking his heart laugh. Where I thought I was the coolest fucking person like going out with people that was a lot older.
Yeah.
And then we were getting invited into it because we were at against that age where we were in the hills and going out with the false ID. And because they had names, you know, everyone knew who they were. They had a
protected when we were out, Lisa.
Yeah, so it was yeah, Emer, I like you. I was excited by it. I wore it as a badge of honor. I felt like I belonged to this particular group of people. It was home.
Yeah.
It was home. But it's like, yeah, you were not prepared for what's about to
No,
come.
definitely not.
And whether you're living a life with glamour, as in, you know, drinking bottles of champagne, whether you're taking cocaine, whether you're wearing the best of gear, whether you're going on these fuck off 5-star holidays, when it comes and it's, I don't think you'll hear one person that has lived that life and got out of it and is now living a normal life that'll say it was old.
No, it
There's
wasn't.
not
I wouldn't
one
go back.
person. There is not one person.
I have peace of mind today, Lisa. I have peace of mind. And when you're so young and you're in your 20s and all, this is life. No, it's not. It's when you start hitting 30, the shit hits the fan. You're getting older, you're becoming a woman, you're all like a proper woman. And this is not life. And then you're too deep into addiction and you don't even realise it.
And then you add addiction onto that. But do you think that it's less about all the stuff that we spoke about and more about you can't take any more suffering? It's just become too much and too hard and too heavy that you're like, if I don't find another way of living, I can't live the way I'm living. Or is it like you see what living that life has brought and you're like, there has to be another way, and then you try. Like, well, I don't know. I know that
for me, Lisa, in the end, with so much traumatic stuff happened to me, I couldn't deal. I didn't know how. We were never taught about emotions. We were never taught how to deal with all this stuff. So when I had went through so much trauma and I had broke time after time, all that stuff was inside. The drink, the pain wasn't gone. You know, I got to a stage where the drink wasn't working. And so what kept me drinking was the physical effects of the drink. I needed that drink to get up in the morning. I didn't even want it, but it soothed the physical effects
and stuff
in my body. And I was like, after going so many routes, I said, it's time now to deal with this trauma.
When was that?
So I'll tell you what happened to me, Lisa, and this is, you know, and so I'll go back a couple of years. Something had happened to me, so all that trauma that went on. Well, we only say you have one instant in your life that breaks you. Something knocked at my door that would, something had happened to one of my children.
Okay.
And as a mother, when you've experienced that pain of what that does to you as a child growing up, all your insecurities, all your fears, all your shame, all your guilt hang over you like a dirty cloak all your life. When that surfaced, that broke me. I was empty. There was nothing. I'm telling you, I was a body. There was nothing. I was a woman dealing with social workers, dealing with all this stuff because I had to. Because them systems are put in place and I had to do it. There was a case brought for, I had to go through it. Also, I had one of the worst nervous breakdowns after that. So when I had that nervous breakdown, I couldn't get the med. I couldn't recover from that because I had twisted straight away. I had to go into all these meetings, specialists, all this stuff. And I remember just that night, I can just, you know, when you think of the Tin Man that has nothing in them. Yeah, but that's where I was. I had nothing. And I remember crying out, and I cried and cried. When I think of that cry, it echoed inside of me, and I said, God, take me. There's nothing left. I had tried suicide, Lisa. I tried everything that was a cry for help up to that, you know, loads of stuff. But this was a cry for me inner soul. I was broken, and I looked up and the sky opened, Lisa. Something shook my whole body. I was lifeless, and I just seen flashes of light. And I looked up, and I was crying and not to take me. I have never experienced anything like this in my life. But whatever happened to me in that brought life back into me. I got up the next morning and I watched Mass on the telly. Was it Latin or whatever? I haven't a clue. And I looked at the telly and I repented. It was a Mass where you repent of your sins. It was Easter. Whatever happened to me in that experience through that TV of repenting of my sins and letting go of stuff completely broke something on me. I don't have an explanation
Do
for
you
it.
think it's like what people say, like a spiritual awakening?
I had
You
a
think so?
spiritual awakening. Now, if you'd have asked me at the time, did I have a spiritual awakening? I couldn't tell you what a
couldn't.
spiritual awakening only that the journey that I'm on now, I can tell you it was a
Yeah.
spiritual awakening. But that was a cry that there was nothing, there was complete nothing left of me. And I had been linking with all services and stuff like that to try get help. And then I got a phone call within 3 days of that experience to go to Tiggerloo. And I went to Tiggerloo and I started my healing journey. And I never forget, you know, and in treatment, and they have these big, huge pad things, and they say to her, why all the people you could forgive her? These are 30 pages. You wouldn't have thought I was crazy. Has all these names. And she was like, no, we meant a little thing.
notebook.
You know?
Yeah.
What kind of life did you live? And when I started forgiving people, and I'm telling you, done loads of stuff to release the anger in me, like writing stuff down, burning it, throwing stuff over a fence, smashing rocks, like to release that trauma that was suppressed. It was like bricks and walls that I had built above the earth, because there was nowhere, like, there was no way of dealing with the life that I had and the childhoods that we had. So where like,
Where
this
do
was
you
left.
start?
Like,
You know, and it's like there's a name for it, and I can't think of it, but it's like when traumas are put on top, one after another. And what you'll find is, and for myself was, so if something happened to me now, and because I wasn't at that healing with other traumas, they open back up all them, and then I'm back I'm back being a kid. I'm fucking 8 years of age again when the first thing probably went wrong or something happened, and we hope with the healing is that whatever I'm faced with from now till my finality, till I die, that I'm able to have the tools to be able to accept whatever it is. But another thing I spoke about, Emo, was when I realised, I spoke about me ma saying, we've terrible bad luck, we've really bad luck, the worst bad luck in the world, right? And I believed that for a long time. But then I realised, hold on a minute, it's not bad luck. If you're living in a life of criminality, the probability of bad things happening are up 110%. If you're an alcoholic or an addict, the probability of bad stuff happening is up again. So then I thought, hold on a minute, what if I could eliminate some of these things in my life? Would it give me a better chance of having a better life? And lo and behold, giving up the drink was the first thing that I had to do. And then I had to look at all the unresolved stuff that I had and go back. Some people say, I don't want to go back. But I have to. I have to go back.
I believe I like that. So it's like, right, we come from, this is how I look at it, right? We come from the inner city, right? You'll see them out scrubbing. And I was wanting scrubbing the glass, 90, this and that. They've suffered tremendous trauma. Every household, there's not a house in Sheriff Street or Seven Place, Lisa, that hasn't
had a
gangland stuff. There's not a house. Well, maybe.
Or addiction.
Probably have 10 houses in the whole community that probably. Would we have 10? Maybe. I don't know.
There is a few quiet families that haven't been affected, but very few.
So every what I see from women, like if you don't go back and deal that stuff, it's tough. Is they're cleaning the house, they're sitting with deck brushes, they're scrubbing. All them bricks and all that stuff is laying up in your body. It has to be released. The death brush is not going to release it. It's going into the trauma, Lisa, and releasing it.
I know that, and I know we've had conversations. And when I met you that day in town, which gave me the idea, wanted to meet you, and I remember thinking, and I'm going to say this, and I'm not proud of myself, but I think I should say it to you. I thought I was better than you. I thought that I was a better addict than alcoholic. I was more polished.
Right.
And through my own healing and meeting you. And it was so weird that second time I met you in that week.
Right.
And I thought of how similar we were. And yet there was differences. There's no doubt about it, Emer. I think, and you can tell me whether I'm wrong, you probably had it a little bit tougher than I had it in a lot of ways. But I thought I was a more polished, sophisticated drunk.
I thought that of you, that you thought that. So there's my fire. In me deepest. There's two things, you know, like...
I'm better. I'm a better alcoholic. I'm a better addict.
When I was actually in it. In it.
Yeah, because you would have been like...
When both of us come to it, addiction is addiction, whichever way.
This is why I'm saying it, because I know that now. And I thought, she probably knows it. And I think it's only fair me asking you down here to open up the way you have and be vulnerable and share your story, that I'm honest with you. I don't believe that for 1 second today.
No.
I think that we both suffered. A lot of children, we were brought up in environments that wasn't the right way, wasn't a righteous way of living. And I think we carried a lot of anger and fear and hurt. And I think what we both did, which is what we both trying to avoid, was we passed that on to our children. And this is the hardest job in healing, because you get well, but you might have one kid out of your 4 or out of your 3 that is now stuck in their grief and in their pain, and they're doing the things that you have passed on. And there's nearly a guilt in feeling so well and doing so well when you look at one of your children who's suffering the stuff that you bestowed on them. And that can be very difficult to navigate, because it's like, and you can see your kid looking at you, you fucking forget yourself. Oh, great for you, you're doing well. What about me? And you know the only thing you can do is carry on in your sobriety, be a good person, and for them to have stability and reassurance that you are going to be there for them when they need the support of you. But that's hard.
It's hard, Lisa. And I tell you, from when we, and I'll come to about the kids in a minute. So how I live my life now is, Lisa, and if people want to listen to this, to say, go away, she doesn't, but I tell you, I do. So for me in addiction, I had no honesty all my life. Do I fall short and make mistakes? Yeah. Honesty is key for me. And I mean honesty in speaking, honesty with money, no stealing, no nothing, none of that. It's all right. I didn't just chop that off like in one day. It's had to take me nearly 3 years. Even if I lie, like say not lie, like for instance, the kids had said to me, probably a year and a half ago, one of them said to me, can you ring the school and lie and get me off? And I had to stand my ground, Lisa, and said no, because that old part of me is gone, and I'm not carrying it on. I don't care what. And I know there's in situations people say bend the truth, but for me on my journey, honesty is key.
But do you not think it's the fear of activating that part of yourself again?
No, I hadn't got the right language.
But I can understand it, because when I see me thinking going, or when I notice a little behaviour, I know that person is always going to be in there. But if I do the little things that's wrong, that will activate that part of myself, and then I could end up back. So I have to watch what I do. I have to try to do I always? No, I'm fucking human.
You on my life and stuff, I was taught to lie. I was taught to lie by my abusers. I was taught to lie by Alan. I was taught to lie by family members, Lisa. So my whole life was a lie. I could lie really easy, you know. And dishonesty was a trait that I picked up. But I also had another parent that was honest in his own. He was, you know, he was all, when I got to a certain age, he was honest with me. Me and my dad had a brilliant relationship, Lisa. Should we ever had drank together and all at a young age? No. But we built a connection that was really good. As crazy in that world, we were honest with each other.
No, well, what you did was, you knew what you were doing were wrong, But in that,
There was an honesty.
there was an honesty.
I know.
As in,
Crazy.
like, I'm never going to
Yeah.
do you wrong. And
Yeah,
he was
neither
like, and
gonna
I
have, and yeah.
I
Do you know
know
what I
the
mean?
relationship you
Yeah.
have with your dad, and I tried to describe your dad. So without your dad,
Yeah.
I would have felt that I wasn't a part of the Byrne family.
Yeah.
Because he made sure that I was, as you
Yeah.
know, and I remember we weren't allowed to play with marbles, we weren't allowed to play with
Yeah.
skipping ropes, we
All
weren't
stuff
allowed
like
to
that,
chewing gum.
Yeah.
And I moved up to Champions Avenue for, it must have been only a year or something. I was only 4.
Yeah.
And he went and collected his labour every Tuesday up at the labour.
Yeah.
That's where it was up there. I think it was Tuesday, wherever day it was. And I used to sit on this little wall and wait for him. I knew what time. And this is what you're talking about, he never, ever one Tuesday left me sit on that wall without coming from him. And he used to say to me, "Where's my goozer?"
Yeah.
And he'd turn his cheek and make me kiss his cheek and pick me up and give me a big hug. And I never felt as belonged or loved for many men like I did for your dad at that point. Gave me £5. I used to go in and buy me nanny 10 major, or my ma 10 blue. They were 98 pence each, and I'd be left with £3. And I'd wait every Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Is it Tuesday? See me nanny, Petter is coming, Petter is coming. And then I remember, so I know what you're talking about your dad. There was a love and he took us places, and even with not allowing us to do certain things, that showed he cared and he cared for our safety. And then we got to a certain age
where it was,
and it's your dad, and I'm trying to be mindful, and it was my uncle, and I know the relationship you had, another love you had from. And then it was like we could do whatever the fuck we wanted. Now we were still doing all the other things that was normalised, and that, you know,
it was just too young, Lisa. Like when you think of, you know, like my daughter said to me, one of my daughters said to me, "Ma, there's this rave on," right? You know, I think I was a wet day in Irritating. I just said to me, "Ma, there's this recover, whatever, with 90s night and all on." And I said, "I would have not gone to the 90s show with me 18-year-old daughter." My daughter thought that one night she came home, that would be all right to experiment or something to be home. No way, Lisa. No way.
He might have
But I was, because of, although I done that with me dad, no, I was just.
Oh no, Emer, look, that was really wrong.
Yeah.
And I remember the shift in my head when that happened, because I thought that I still had the relationship that I had as a kid. Don't play with marbles, don't chew chewing gum. So then when I realised that it was okay to take drugs, I was like, what? And it was like, I was nearly like screaming inside, "No, don't do this with me. Don't break that bond. Don't break that trust or that love." Because I think when we do that with our kids, we break something in there, that trust. And I have been guilty of it. And it took me to go to rehabilitation to talk about this and the shame I had. And I couldn't say it in front of the group until I spoke to one particular, because I was so riddled. Because of what I thought of your father doing that with us. And then imagine, fast forward 10 years or whatever it was.
See, that's what addiction does to Lisa.
No, I know. I know. And that was one of my biggest shameful moments. And I knew the next day when I'd wake up from that, I'd either drink more to numb out the thoughts that was coming with it. So I'd have a drink the next day, or I would look to try and not think about it. But what happened was I couldn't keep running from it, and it was engulfing me. I knew my moral compass was gone. I knew I'd passed the threshold, and I knew I'd become the one person that I never ever wanted to become. And that's where it brought me. That was one. It was one of the worst things that I will always talk about. And I obviously have a few more that I don't ever believe that I would have done if I hadn't been in that far into addiction. But it's like what you speak about. So now
you would have that side of, you know, that would be your shame, your guilt on you. But see, I've exposed the kids to a lot of violence, Lisa. You know, I have, because I was so angry and so good, I've manifested anger on my house with them kids. And I have that, Lisa. You know, and I would have been able to cope. And not like Kimberly and Lynn. It's normal stuff, you know, or the baby. But with Casey, Casey got the brunt of me because
The
I
eldest,
didn't. Do you know what I mean? She
Emer,
got the brunt of me, and you know, I don't. You know, my life was what is like what it was. If I could go back and change anything, it would be in being able to be the nurturing mother that I should have been to Casey. But we were already trapped in addiction. Well, I was trapped in addiction before I had Casey. I had already been taking cocaine. I had already. So that kind of motherly instinct, it wasn't about, like, you had the baby. What was the biggest thing after the baby? Your christening. You had this. The party. It wasn't the way, you know, I'm so different with Patrick. Patrick is, you know, we have the little baby Patrick. It's completely like, you know, what I should have been with Casey. You're nurturing, you're loving. What did we want to do? Lisa, run out the door. Get a babysitter here. Get a babysitter there.
Well, I spoke about it. If your needs hasn't been met, right? And like probably your parents. So if your needs is not met, how do you then in turn meet the needs of your children? And up until a point, I thought I was doing a really, really good job of it because I was always a heavy drinker, but it didn't spiral for me to have to shave diet. And then
so the kids would have went through this sort of young state.
It was always a thing in my life, alcohol, and we went like for every weekend, for happy occasions, for sad occasions. The kids would have known that we were drinkers, but it wasn't daytime drinking anymore. It wasn't like, so it would be, you know, Christmases and birthdays, the weekend. Some weekends we could do without it. But like he'd get one bottle of wine, and I'd have another one hid out in the boot. Because I'd be like, I'm probably 2 glasses each. So I was always pushing it. Even then when I look back, if we were booking flights on an airplane, it was either the front of the plane or the back, because I didn't want to wait for the drinks cart to come to me in the middle. If we booked tickets for a show, aisle seats, so I could run to the bar and the toilet real quick with you. So I mean, this is all alcoholic thinking, but I wouldn't have been aware of that, just knowing that. But I was driven by it. But the drinking straight from the bottle came
that's
after. That's when you know that you're.
That's when you know.
When you know the beer, I want a fucking beer.
When you go to the vodka, it's a little.
When you go to the straight vodka.
And then what happened really was I was able to drink bottles and bottles, but my body got sick. So I had been hospitalised a good couple of times. I was really sick, and I remember getting a nagging probably around the last couple of months, and a nagging would put me the way the bottle put me. I wasn't even able to go.
Well, you know what I found out that was an actually, because I was experiencing all these things, and they would only let you read literature about alcohol and stuff. You couldn't read a novel because it was escapism. So I read this book about alcoholism, and I was reading it, and I was ticking off the symptoms. So it was I had my fingers were always turning white and blue, tingling. I was bedwetting sometimes, like honestly, in one particular house, in one particular bed, don't know what that was, never in my own. And I was getting drunk. I was taking blackout constantly. People was telling me things I was saying. I was like, I don't use that. That's not who I feel. I wouldn't have said that. And they're like, oh, you did. And then the thing was getting drunk really easily. So this is someone in progressive stages of alcohol. And I was like, was I in rehab? I was still thinking, was I that bad? And one of them was drinking a little amount of alcohol, getting really drunk. The liver stops working. And the liver, oh God, I hope I'm describing this right because I'm on this, gets rid of the toxins and processes the alcohol.
So that's what was
but when it stops working, it's not doing its job. And we're getting drunk on a tiny amount compared to what we would usually. So that's what that was.
It was just, the vodka would have been, that was. If you didn't realise you had a problem, you had a problem with that.
The straight vodka. I was talking to her in a glass and everything. Like saying, like, telling how much I loved it. And I was like, you know, the man, and like that, my esophagus was closed. And so I wasn't eating. My stomach was burned. I was on all fours with the lining was gone from my stomach. So I think I was really close from being hospitalised as well, you know. But now
so at one stage, like, this is not, I'm not going to say it as a laugh. I don't know how my body healed because I needed a new liver, Lisa. I've never, I didn't know that I needed a new liver, Lisa. When I got out of tickling and I was healed in there, my liver was fine. I needed a new liver. What was it about? I think it was about 2 years ago. My mum got the phone call for the new liver. Well, I was obviously in because there's a waiting list for and all stuff. and my liver was healed. When I
Wow.
gave up the drink and I put all good stuff into my body, because the liver can heal itself.
Yeah, it's the
And
one
it's,
organ
yeah,
that
it's the one
can.
organ. And like, I was completely like bad, completely bad. I used to, I was gone to a stage, I don't know what was happening to, even if I just say I took a shot of drink, right, I would get that red face on it.
Even with one suck, all the neck going red, that's like an allergic reaction. Or I don't know what that is, but I had that as well. It was going on with my face like a map. And I wasn't taking much.
No, that's it.
I think I derailed on talking about Casey, but we were on that, and I just want to bring you back because I know that's really important for you. So there.
Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, with Casey, because I wouldn't, when I look back at Casey, my dad stepped in with Casey. Any little traits and stuff Casey has, and her kindness and her good heart, she got it from me dad. My dad was amazing.
I remember,
amazing. He was amazing. But I just could, because of my relationship with her dad, and all my head was gone. Aidan was probably the violence and the stuff like that, and the crime, the gangland stuff was at the height of it. It was at its peak.
Yeah.
So I had that on my mind. I had Alan, and it was just, and then I just wanted to party and take cocaine and drink to escape, and be a mother Monday to Friday.
Do you think that in a weird kind of way that because of Casey's dad and how he was treating you and the anger and resentment, do you nearly think that when we have a child for people who are like that we nearly take it out on the kid because they're half up?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, no, I wondered about that. I remember even if Clayton did something that reminded me of something that I disliked about his dad, how angry I got. And I wasn't angry at the stupid little thing. I was angry at his dad because it reminded me of that. So that's why I asked that question.
And she loves her dad, and she still loves her dad. And, my side of what I say, Casey has a complete different side, and that's fine.
That experience, don't we? We all experience things so different.
And it's like, she doesn't see stuff through my lens. She sees it through her dad, and she's a great connection with her dad, and she loves her dad, but, she will wake up one day. This stuff can't stay buried,
when she's ready to see it forward the way it was.
She's at a stage, Lisa, where she can't forgive. She's frozen at some stage, and she's angry, and I'm the problem, and I'll put my hands up because I was the problem, but I'm not the problem anymore.
We've just spoken about so much there. You can relate to where she's at because you remember being that person.
And she's in that relationship with her father, and her father was mass manipulating. So if you've been in an abusive relationship, any woman will tell you, knock me clean out on the floor, please. Because they put up at that head shit.
The psychological stuff as well.
I'm telling you, do you know what? You'd actually sometimes, in a fight mode, psych yourself up to get a baby. Rather than to listen to that.
Eddie really hit my mark. Like there was very few times that she wasn't black-eyed or punch, but it was the psychological stuff, and it was worse. Well, I know I can't say it's worse, but it's equally, and if not, like as you said, if you get a dig and you're on the floor and you run out the door, you're like, well, I'll get up and I'll put ice on me. But the psychological seems to be non-stop. It does something different, doesn't it?
It's just, it's constant chipping you down. You went to the shop, you took too long. He was looking at you, she was looking at you. Like they build this character up as
it's soul destroying. It kills you from the inside out. Whereas the physical stuff, you'll see it on you.
And like I wouldn't, any woman that's being bet up and all, it's really hard. And people would say, why do you say? They're mental, absolutely. Because if someone is chipping at your brain day after day after day, you can't believe in how trapped you get. And that's how you feel. You feel completely trapped. I'm fast forward, this is probably only about 5 years ago. I had been to Tiggerlin, and I found out Alan had got sentenced. I skipped through the park. I never hadn't skipped in years, and I was genuinely happy and relieved. But I had a bit of a breakdown after that. My mind didn't know what to do because my mind had been in survival mode for over 20 years.
Wow.
So what? it was like
What are you going to do with
I
this
had
peace of mind?
I had like for 2 weeks in my house, I had a breakdown, but I was able to, I was able to, I had picked up pills and I was able to process how.
Well,
Do you know?
think about that. If you
Yeah.
had all that effort and time spent on navigating
Yeah.
that relationship and keeping yourself safe and your kids safe,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it's gone, then you're left with you.
Yeah.
Then you're left sitting.
That's it. I went.
That's so difficult to sit with yourself,
Yeah, very difficult,
after
Lisa.
so years of
Yeah.
chaos. Like you spoke about death and
Yeah.
trauma and addiction and physical violence, sexual abuse. I mean, every fucking thing that you can pile onto your bonfire, you've had on it.
Yeah.
And then one day,
You're free.
the addiction is gone.
Yeah.
Well, you're not actively drinking
No.
or anything like that. The person that was causing consternation in your life is no longer in it. I mean, that is
You
that
don't.
you don't know what that feeling is because you've not had it,
No.
or you've not and even from your childhood, what's peace?
That's it.
I was trying to describe something to my therapist the other day about where I'm at, and I says I'm very good at articulating how I feel and describing things, but I was struggling, and you know why? Because I says to her, I've not had this feeling before. I don't know what it is. But so I'm saying exactly how you are feeling that day, and not to that degree. But I was like, I have this sense of stability in myself, like, and it's nearly unshakable. If you know what I mean, I can depend on it.
Yeah,
it's real.
Yeah,
it's peace in there.
Yeah.
It's stability. It's self-confidence. It's and I've never had that. It's like think of a statue that's standing somewhere years and it doesn't blow down in the biggest hurricane. There's something in me that feels like I've never
standing strong. You feel you're standing strong.
I'm even struggling to describe it to you today.
So it's like we build it up. Like for me, I'm building myself back up and standing strong. And I know both of us have like different journeys, but I stand strong in the Lord, Lisa, because I know that only what I experience and what I've read through the Bible is something that I've always longed. I've always longed for God. I've always longed for that peace because of. So I was born into fear. I've lived a fearful life up till I was 14. There's an experience I can't speak about here.
Okay.
That has happened to me and it shook me. And that was 3 years ago, Lisa. And I thought, when that happened to me 3 years ago, I was, what the point in the work? What is this about? That you come so far. And I had an experience, and Jesus come into my life, Lisa, and all that stuff that I've asked about here, He's healed me from that. I'm continuing healing. When I heard about man, the love and what He wants, the way He wants us to live, and for me on my journey, I would never be without the Lord. I know where I'm going. I know that after being 40 years of age, my head is going on that pillow tonight, Liv, and I have peace amidst all my chaos. I've prayed for it. It took me through. I've been up and down the what would you call it? The Murray clay, but I have peace. And something that out of all that stuff, something had happened to me, and I can't just describe the feeling of it not having an effect on me that it should have had the effect on me. And after experiencing all that much trauma, and I was like 40, no way, what is going on in life? That, pulling yourself away from so much in your life, and I was just, if you want to call it, an unfortunate person.
Okay.
And then when I found a really amazing church, and asked Jesus into my life, and it completely transformed me. Keep completely transformed me, and I'm on this healing journey, Lisa. It's just healing all these parts of my body with that. as being at war, I feel sometimes my body is being at war, like it's a war going in, something tugging me all the time. Now I have the tools to stop that. I will call on Jesus, obviously, will give me a peace, or say me prayers, and and I invite the Lord into my day. I can't explain the peace I have from all that trauma and stuff, and just simple little things. If I say, do you know how to guide me steps today? Take care
It's
of me.
been a massive part of your healing.
My mind
wouldn't
go. I wouldn't go back, Lisa. You know, and we talk about bloodline, or generational stuff. So on my journey, I've went through prayer processes of breaking the cycle in my kids' life, and I see that. Don't get me wrong, being a mother is really difficult to have a teenager, but they're not taking drugs, Lisa. That's absolutely amazing, because most 15-year-olds would have done what we done. They want to run now. And
and I know how important that is, Emer, because like similarly for me, mine would get a job and not fall into criminality. Like my biggest fear was that, because I didn't want them to have to go through and then ultimately probably prematurely die. We've got 3 outcomes. It's when you're involved in criminality, it's you go to prison for a long time, you get killed, I abscond. There's no other outcome. So I know how you feel about being able to say that. Because it's like, it's where you measure your healing and your success with the kids at the minute is that they don't take drugs because of the effects it has on you.
See, and like, so when we talk about, like, what you would have masked. For me, well, I don't know what it is true. You would have masked. You would have made your, like, for me, I would have been a stylish drink. Mine was at the pit. I know the addiction, but if you're looking from the outside in,
and that's
yours
why
was a birthday thing, but it was still addiction. Whereas mine was a bit more.
But this is why I said what I said to you, because I even believed, as I said to you, that
yours look normal. Well, you know.
Well, I've just proved that it doesn't matter the way it looks.
I know, but from the outside, it just looked like you had a good life.
You think about years ago when
Do you know what I mean?
when you called someone an alcoholic, it was an awful thing. It meant that you were. I thought an alcoholic was someone unkempt, dirty, sitting with a brown paper bag that didn't care about anything or anyone. And so that was the label of alcoholic. It's changed. It 100% is. And when I heard the likes of Gabor Mate talking about addiction, and he said, it's not, it's, don't ask why they're drinking, ask what's the pain? What pain are you in? And that really resonated with me about, it's, so I'm really interested in what's underneath the addiction. This is why we're talking.
So I could tell you what has, so it was easy for me to sit here and talk to you because I've dealt with that stuff. So what I done, as I told you, was I got to the root. Now, there's a part of my story that I did. I thought when I was born, I was sent to me ma's sister. My ma's sister took me. I'm not sure whether you knew that.
Did you?
No. So straight away from out of the womb, rejection came straight in. I was rejected. Abandonment as well. So it wouldn't have been got that note or that love. So I always felt that lonely.
It was a fracture.
Fracture.
Yeah.
So when I got to the root of where my stuff happened and how all this stuff and how I feel and fear and all that stuff, when I went 0 to, just say 0 to 10, 10 to 20, all up, and I went through a process of prayer and going deep into the prayer, removing the rejection, removing the abandonment, getting prayer into it, handing it to the Lord. And I can only tell you that's what would.
Well, I always say, when
it's just gone.
Like a practice of something. So if you have done all these things and you've done all that praying and your experiences that you feel
I'm healed,
and go to bed,
I'm not 100% healed, but from
like, I mean, as long as we're living in, we're going to have stuff like we're human beings. They're never going to have a life where there's nothing happening, or you're no sick. Or
I have to stop you when I say to like I'm healed. That means like a magic formula.
No, I know what you mean.
Pain,
you don't feel like you have to numb anymore. All that stuff inside.
Like I say, when we get the prayer and someone would pray over me, but it could have been that night, could have been the next day. I was brought to my knees, but I physically felt that that, it was like I went back to that place and that pain came from my stomach up and down. You know, it's not like I put my hands on it, I healed. The pain had to leave me. I felt I was raw, I was crying, I was broken, I was brought back to that place. Maybe for 10 minutes, maybe a half an hour, maybe an hour. Someone's were deeper. Once I cried, it was gone. I'd be still mesmerised. That's it. Because that's what kept me drinking. All the stuff that I done could never release. The pain.
I find it worked for a long time, and then but that's why we do it, isn't it? Because we're getting relief and it's easing the pain and it's soothing us. And then, like anything that you excessively do and is not good for you, it comes a point where then that's the problem then as well. So you've added that on top of everything else. But I've just thinking about you know, the effects of because when we're struggling so much, we affect our family, our siblings, and our parents and stuff, and what with everything that your family, like just 3 brothers now, that your ma's bears 3 boys. When it was actively an addiction for Emer, most of our life.
That would have been traumatic in us itself, Lisa, watching that.
Yeah, well, I remember we used to find needles in the toilet and stuff like that when we were younger. And he locked himself in a room. He wasn't really problematic as such, just that you knew what he was doing in there and that he was. And it was sad. It was more sad than anything else. And then you had Aidan and you had Garrett. I have a photograph of myself and Garrett, and we look like twins in it. Didn't notice a bit of time, but we're sitting down and with blonde crowns, he's with blonde hair, and you could pass us for sibling. And I often look at that photograph. I don't have her on hand. And I look at his death and the way he went before he died. I remember going to visit him, and he was yellow, and his eyeballs were yellow because the liver was gone. His hair had all fallen out. He was swollen, and this was a beautiful, beautiful boy, blue-eyed, blonde hair. But I remember him, I'll just say this, and then I went up, and when I looked at him in the bed, I didn't feel right. The nurse had to come over and sit me down. And I remember saying to him, time stood still wherever he was, because I come through psychosis from no alcohol. And he said to me, what time is it? What time? That clock is at 1:05, the last 5 hours. And I says, Gareth, is there any way possibly you think you can get out of this or get well? And I never forget it, Emer stuck with me. He said to me, no.
He didn't want to.
He said to me, he said to me, no, I don't have anything left in me to file it anymore. I'm done. And Emer, I never forget going home. And I'll never forget a young, how old was Gareth?
Gareth wouldn't have been even 30
in his late 20s. And I remember just thinking, what the? Because I was nowhere near. I was just out at weekends at that time still. And I remember getting a phone call away that he got out of the hospital, but he fell down the stairs, and ultimately. And then you had Aidan, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Aidan was shot 5 times. And died, I'm assuming, instantly. And I know the effects that had on myself. I can only imagine what it had on you.
It had a family effect, Lisa, without getting into the details. So all these things, there's like, we could say, like, even with Gareth, there's just such a ripple effect when anyone dies.
Especially in these circumstances. What do you think has, when you remember all you as siblings growing up, and you remember Gareth and Aidan and you, and what's the biggest thing that you have noticed, like within your family, the effects that all of these traumas that has happened?
Right. Like, so just that you touched a bit on Gareth. Gareth was probably one of the I'd say I picked up vodka. I never drank vodka, and I let Gareth came to stay, and I done what Gareth was there. I took his bottle of vodka. No, I don't think I've ever told him this. I took his bottle of vodka. But you know, Gareth, some of us are strong to deal with abuse. Gareth couldn't live it. Gareth couldn't live what happened to him as a child. He just couldn't live it. He couldn't take it. He took heroin. He took everything to numb that guilt, that shame, all that stuff. that comes with stuff that's not your fault, that other people do to you. He wasn't strong enough, Lisa. Gareth was, after what had happened to him as a child. If I had one wish, I wish Gareth was here, because I tell you, he'd be in the church with me, because there's no condemnation for any of us. There's none for you, there's none for me. So what you've done and what I've done has an effect on their children. The madness is in the mind that will keep you there. Oh, you done this, you done that. Go away. That's not how we live, Lisa. If you're truly sorry and your heart is repentant of what you know, I'm not talking any, Catholic church stuff like this. This is person to person. If you're truly sorry and I'm truly sorry for the mistakes that I've done, and I'm willing to change, and we want to make better, we are forgiven. It's gone. It's done. It's this. We always have a little voice that keeps nudging at us. That's this. That's that. And when you overcome and you start to retrain your brain and catch every thought and say, no, that's not who I am. I'm a new person. I'm not that person anymore. I would have wished that for Gareth, to see life brought back in him, because I knew he was stuck in that place till he was about 6, that hammer of guilt and shame. Some of us are stronger, Lisa, some of us are not. I just for someone, just because when I have a picture of Gareth in my mind now, and I felt his pain, and what did I understood do? It. Gareth's death and me watching him when I took him in brought up my own stuff, and that's when the fault. Not that he's any blame, right? No, that's when the fault. And I gave up then. That was my time. That was 10 years ago, and I gave up. Lily is 11, 10 years, more than 10 years ago. Well, Lily, I was pregnant on Lily, so about 13 years ago. Yeah, because she was done. Yeah, why no? So I gave up then, Lisa, and I just said, this is the way we have to go. And I had made that agreement in my head that I was following. Yeah. For a short period until I came over. But at that stage, at that time, and I was called a nurse and I was bleeding, drinking, and I could feel his pain. It was a darkness, and then for a little stage I wanted, and then somehow or another I took out of that mindset, but I wanted to be dead, because I couldn't never. And when I think of me life of trying to commit suicide and all and stuff, do you know what? That was just a genuine cry for help. I couldn't deal with this pain. How can you deal with trauma after trauma? Like, one trauma you need to heal. And you, me, many other women have them on board, on top, until you can't, it's time to break shot. Well, you do get to that point where I don't want to be part of this living anymore. There's nothing about it that's pleasant. I've no joy. I can't seem to get myself together. And then you talk about that. You called it a speck. I talked about a little flicker. Yeah, you had some sort of. And whatever that was that carried you through. But I always look at people and say, why did I recover and she didn't, or he didn't? That's the addiction, Lisa. And I know, and you know, we may never fully know. And I mean, some people will say, I'm as desperate as you to live a good life and a normal life, but I can't stop drinking. So I believe, Lisa, right, so this is me, and people can say, you're right, you're wrong. Retrain the brain. I believe if you hold every thought captive, look, I'm not well educated, but I live in this mind. It's mine. It's the same as you live in yours. So if a negative thought comes into me, I counteract. I know I am a good person. I can say that today. I'm not fearful to fall short every day. And it's funny that you say that, where I was only watching this called Healing Days, and it was Bezel van der Klok, and it was Gabriel Mate and this other woman, and this other guy, I can't think of his name, and he was talking about the brain and the effect of addiction and trauma. And he was saying, you can retrain the brain. But of course you can. You're living proof that you can. And I totally agree. But it's a hard process. Because I remember someone saying to me, Lisa, right, and I would never thought I'd be sitting here now, right? My psychologist, get a book and go on a walk. I used to be saying, this thing crazy. I don't even know where I'm coming from. Get a book, I know. Get a book and go on a walk. I know, yeah, but you know what? When I start fine, everything roached. It's like, she has to be just like, she's not up here the top side. I used to see she was that and all down the place. It was just laugh, right? And I think she's not up here for some reason. She used to say to me, there's nothing mentally wrong with you, Emer. You need to put the small steps of positivity, Joey. You need to do this
But
and do
Emer,
that.
trying to hear that
I
when
know, when you're in the middle.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
like, it's like when you go to AA meetings and they're like, you can live a life beyond your wildest dreams. And I'm looking saying, would you ever? You know, I remember going in and people say I'm 20 years sober. And I'm like, what have they been doing for the past 20 years? They're not drinking.
Yeah.
And I think about all those thoughts that I had. And your life beyond your wildest dreams means going to bed and being able to sleep with peace, having good relationships, looking after your physical health, your diet, and being able to communicate with your kids. Hold the fucking job down. If you want to go back to college, apply yourself and go. And that's a life beyond your wildest dreams, Emer. But I thought my life was like, well, how will I become a superstar? Or you know, like, it was, you know, all those, you know, when you're a kid and you have these wild dreams about being an actor
Someone should
or a
have told
singer.
us the truth. So, like, come on.
Well, I would have thought life beyond your
wanted
wildest
to be Tina Turner, just
Listen, I can still share it with Tina Turner, with no alcohol on Emer, and give me a microphone on the stage, and I'd imagine I'd still try pull it off. But look, I think there's after being a lot, and I was really worried, and I had my concerns. I was excited too, and I was looking forward to meeting you, and I was looking forward to learning new things about you as well, because I know we haven't seen each other or sat with each other in a very long time. I think your story and the amount of things and experiences that you had can feel like they're unbelievable, as that one person and one soul and one heart and mind has to have that amount of stuff. I mean, we are only human. There's so much suffering in the world. There is. And I always say we are more resilient than we give ourselves credit for. But I don't know. Listening to you, I still feel like you had it a lot worse than me. I feel like your journey has been more crippling. I could be wrong, Emer. No, I really could be.
I do believe, Lisa, pain is pain. Rejection is rejection. Abandonment is abandonment. On my journey, it was the abuse and my relationship. But that would have been the hope, the divide that we.
But I still look and I'm thinking, I'm sitting here after listening to everything you've said and thinking, I don't know whether I could have done it if I was hoping. That's how I feel right now, and that makes me think that you had it worse. But I know we always think that. But I admire you. I think you have massive courage. I knew you as a young kid, and I knew your vulnerabilities, and everything you said, I could see that in you as a young kid. My wish and my hope is that in sharing your message and saying all the things that you've been able to come through with your addiction and your abuse and the abusive relationship, this can only send a message of change is possible. And hope is what we need. We need hope. We really need hope. Faith. I remember saying about faith, it's like a stained glass window that has no sunlight. If you're living life without faith, it's like a stained glass. And I really, that resonated with me, Emer. I know the shame I've had. I know the shame you've had. I know the stigma that we still have in some people's eyes. And I'm hoping that this is someone will hear this and hear your story and say, because I know this happened for me, if she can do it, I can do it. And they get the support and they reach out or they share their story. Is there anything else that you want to add or you want to say before, like, or do you feel like?
I believe on my own journey, I don't live that life. Reliving sometimes, on my journey has been painful, Lisa. But I know that all that bad stuff that happened to me, now I have a chance to help people. And I do on a Tuesday, and I'm part of a team that people come in for, and I get to help women, and I can relate to someone. So if this story helps relate to someone, and someone is relatable to her, and that gives them the bit of strength to say, you know what, I can do it. There is a hope, because there is hope in all of us. Sometimes it's just, as we said, like the
and
berries
it's a,
and
there's a
berries
flicker, and you know.
flicker, and you can survive. And I
Well,
believe,
no, you do
oh, you do
survive,
survive, and
because I'm
yeah,
looking at you
yeah, a
here
survivor,
today.
you know, and truly, it's like I'm on this journey. My personal journey is believing in myself 100%, and knowing that I love myself, have compassion for myself, Leaf, because that was a hard life, and most women out there are really, really living hard lives, and they need a bit of hope. They need a bit of courage. They need a bit of strength.
And I probably get scowled by men over this, but I do feel like that women have a lot tougher. A lot of women, and I know there's some men going to be in this predicament with that women without their wife walked out and they're in addiction, and I know there's men like that. What I found was, when you're a mother of 3, 4 kids in your case, and you come out of rehabilitation, and you've let the bills build up, and there's no money, and when you get out, and then you have to try go to meetings, you have to try, in your case, go to church, and you have all these things that you have to do to stay well, and you have to be a mother at the same time. And I noticed, like, a lot of men say would come into meetings, and their wife would be at home minding the kids, whereas the people, like in my team, my husband died. For you, your partner was gone to prison and out of your life, which was a blessing for you. But I'm like, I would be torn about the kids not, like, saying, Carla doesn't seem right today, or Luca doesn't, and I want to go to cinema, or I want to have dinner, and I want to go and watch a film with them on the sofa, but I have to do the meeting, or I have to go here. And I really feel like women, it's so tough.
Very tough, Lisa.
You're emotionally, physically, mentally, and financially responsible for not 1, not 2, not 3 in your case, but 4 of their lives, as well as trying to get well.
That is really hard, Lisa. It's not for the faint-hearted.
Talent.
Tough talent.
And Emer, all along, it's like, and then the worries is, do I have enough electricity? Is there enough food for the rest of the week? Is there petrol in the car? And then the shame in telling the kids that you have to cut back when you're trying to be abundant for them. It's so difficult, and I don't know whether anyone going through it will know what I'm talking about, but I wonder, does that people realise how difficult it is for them?
No, it is difficult, but one key thing that I've got from my journey and my faith and the church and the Lord is, I don't worry anymore, because wow. So if I can honestly tell you, I couldn't have a pot to piss in tomorrow, but I know it'll come out somewhere, because worry will kill you.
Well, I'll say this, and because I was a massive worrier, and I would share things with my sister, and there'd be times when I'd be having a really tough week financially, and my thing with that is, and it's very similar, I keep it in the 24 hours a day. Do I have enough for today? And I remember saying to her one day, I said, oh, do you know what? I'm paying my college fees, and I don't have a massive amount of money. I work part-time, and I have my pension, my widow's pension. And I says to her, I said,
I'm laughing, your widow's pension, you're only baby.
Well, I'm 10 years with a widow's pension, For I says to her, I said, sure, I think I've €1.62, and I probably, like, there's definitely not enough food in, there's not enough either. And she was like, I throw myself in front of a tray in hell. And I said to her, I slept for about 8 hours last night, because I was like, well, what's the point? And I knew, like, my family would always say to me, Rina, don't leave yourself in. But I really learned to not worry so much, because it's going to be all right anyway. And as long as I'm all right, and the kids are all right, everything will be okay. But it's fucking, I'm not being funny. When you think about all the stuff that you've been through,
worry about doesn't even happen.
Like, you're like, that's not a worry. That is not an actual worry compared to.
Be told that'd be a worry, you know. Be told to be a worry. I'd be just like, I'm like, no, like, if I start worrying, then I have the anxiety and all that stuff. The minute I get it,
and then it's palpable with the kids and stuff anymore.
So I just, if I feel that coming on me, I will pray and say, be gone. because I'm not having that. Because
Very
I would
good.
have been full of it. My whole life would have
Yeah,
been
it
full of
brings you back.
anxiety and all. So it's like, look,
Mm.
if I've made it this far,
Mm.
and I worried this shit. There was probably, it was 8 or 10 years that I did not sleep. And I'm telling you, I might have got one night's sleep out of that week. I don't know how I was
How you
living,
survive.
but I did not sleep. I was up living in fear, constant fear. If I smell a bit of fear, I have me tools and stuff.
What you do.
Yeah, I know, and if I anxiety and stuff, and I'd be like, no, I'm getting on my hands and knees and prayer, because I don't have a spirit of fear. I have a spirit of love and a sound mind. And that's the way I'm living, because Lisa, like, whichever way on my journey, which way people perceive fear is a robber. It robs you of absolutely everything. The minute fear steps into that mind, that's it, game over. And then everything else
I
comes with
agree,
it.
Ma, because
So we keep a sound mind.
I can have both of that, and I've had to work really, really hard to not have the fear that I've carried. It was all that fear that had us in addiction, and it's funny, because it's like, I know we took different paths on our recovery and on our healing, but there's so much similarity.
Anxiety, addictions, addiction.
I have tools that I would use when that fear creeps in, and I use prayer too. I have my faith now, and I pray every night, and I'm very grateful for all the things I have in my life, and particularly for my health and my relationships, and all the stuff that we take for granted. We'll start to wrap up, Emer. We're at about 1:40. I just wanted to say I had a very small amount of fear. And it wasn't a bad fear. It was, we hadn't seen each other in so long. We hadn't been in each other's homes. I was excited as well. I knew that you had this massive story of trials and tribulations to get where you. It's weird, because when I hear that you're doing well, I know I'm doing well, I feel like together again, we're on this journey of wellness and using our voices to help do good from what we've came. I always wanted to turn all that adversity and traumatic stuff into something positive. And I think this is what you're doing. I wish you nothing but love and kindness, and I hope your faith grows in strength for you, because I know how much that means to you. I hope your relationship with your children and your communication is able to heal, and I hope you deserve that and so much more out of this world anymore. And you are always extremely lovable and kind, and there was always a softness and a vulnerability that made people want to, for me, to hug you. And I hope you're giving them hugs to yourself now. I hope we stay in contact. I hope we share where we're at and what we're doing, and I hope this for you is nothing but positive, and being able to share this. I hope you feel a bit lighter, and you are able to offload. I usually finish up with if you could tear down the podcast, is tear down these walls. And it's because I was always looking to tear down these internal walls. And where we lived in Sheriff Street, I felt like there was walls built, which there was.
Strongholds.
If there was a wall internally or externally, or both, what would be the wall that you would tear down in society and life?
I would, if I could tear down the wall, I would, tear down the walls if I'll go to Sheriff Street if the drug selling, and if I could tear down a wall and catch the kids really young and see them getting more, and there is good things happening in Sheriff Street, getting them more into
even the
football,
stuff
like that. But just try
tactics,
because you know what, Lisa, right? When kids hit 12, that's it. When you're going into them emotions and stuff, if you can catch the kids from 12 upwards.
Can I say something? And this dawned on me a long time, and it's because of the effects of me getting well. You know how we always look at the kids and say, something wrong with him, something wrong with her, that child's always in trouble, they're wild, let's send her to therapy, she needs help. And my experience now is, the kids, but why is the kids behaving like that in the first place? I think we're targeting the wrong people. I think mothers. If we can give the support to mothers and fathers, right? Because and they get well. In
Yeah.
turn, they start doing their job and become the parents they need to be, and the kids get well. And the reason why I say that is not a judgment.
Yeah.
It's because when I got well, my kids started to get well. So I'm like, why the fuck are we targeting the children? We're targeting the wrong people.
Yeah.
We shouldn't
Yeah,
be
when you look at
targeting.
it like that, it's like,
Think about, well, have
Yeah.
your kids gotten better since you got well?
so exactly that you come and say that. So in my experience, I'm all I do on Tuesdays with the church, and I love doing it. So we get the women in or the men in, and I see the ripple effect in front of me eyes.
Because they can do their job.
Because they're
But
changing.
we're talking, yeah.
So it comes
So
from the parent down.
if you send a child in for an hour's therapy, and you
Yeah.
send them to
And they
school,
send it home to the same.
And then-
and I don't mean to be mean.
no, but she has
No,
addiction
yeah,
problems like I had and like you had, and she's undoing all that therapy
That's it.
session and
Yeah.
adding more fuel onto it, because that's where you could have sent my kids to a retreat
Yeah.
for €10,000.
Yeah.
You did great for
My
them.
mammy's
Come
still
back
the
home
same.
to me,
Yeah.
and all that work would have been gone
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
where
And
I was
I
at.
can relate to that because the change had to happen in me. And when I seen the
Exactly.
change in me, and it's getting the women, it's getting women to rise up. And if any woman is listening to this and they say, am I addicted? Am I this? No, you can break the cycle. You can. Steps in yourself. Because realistically, you're going, whichever whether you're 20, 30 or 40, listen to this, you're going to hit a stage where you want to change. You want to change for your children.
Well, it becomes there's only two options anymore. You want change, or you're going to switch off. You want to. You want to.
You want to, or you want change.
You want to. So yeah, and I think what you said though, I know where that is. Get the kids young, get them involved, get them, show them the world.
No, you know what? And I was just thinking of the kids, but really from my own experience, and actually a lot of other women that had the pleasure of working with and giving them guidance, it's actually the mothers and the fathers. When they start changing, when they bring healthy communication, when you bring all this stuff that you're being learned into your home,
because the kids become less anxious, less worried, less fearful. I can trust me ma, I can trust me dad, I have stability, I don't feel unsafe in this environment. And automatically, Emma, that's a medicine. That's the biggest medicine we can give ourselves and kids.
That's it. Like.
So
it's people have it, look, women are prescribing, getting their kids prescribed this, that, and the other, and it's just for an easy life. No, I'm not judging any women. Everything is medicine. Give it, even for me, and when I was on my journey, take this, take that.
But if you don't know any better, you won't do any better. And and we listen to doctors, and if the doctor says, look, this will help. And then if you are in addiction or you have financial difficulty in a bad relationship, you want things to be easier. So if giving your child with massive ADHD or whatever a tablet makes your life, you're going to do it. It's all the wrong things, but that's what we do, Emma, because we're looking to have less stress, this child, and so on and so on. And this is the generational stuff and the cycles that we're talking about. And the reason why we're doing this is to try and break them.
And
so I think on that note, I'm sure we could do this again, Emma, and we could talk about more. Thank you so much for being vulnerable.
You're welcome.
And for being honest and sharing that really, really difficult stuff. And I'm really excited for the two of us, for what's to come in our lives. And I hope this helps more than just you and I today. I hope it helps other people as well. I really hope.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.